Okay, well, better late than never. It took me a long time to get the teacher interview since my school had a week off for a local Cambodian holiday. I ended up getting one interview from uh, the internet from somebody who's very experienced off a YouTube site. And then finally, I was able to get a hold of one of the teachers via email, and then one of our cohort members uh, responded. So I did end up getting three interviews. Anyways, here were the tech questions that I developed to ask my interviewees. How often do you teach your students how to use the technology that you integrate into your class lessons? What are your main sources for discovering the latest in educational technologies? What have you found to be the best ways to assess the effectiveness of an integrated educational technology? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how effective do you believe your school is in the area of teaching digital literacy? What steps would you suggest for your school that may increase your school a few points on the scale? How do the teachers and administrators who take the lead in the use of technology in the classroom share their experiences, ideas, and knowledge with other teachers? Also, I asked the question, what has been the most effective piece of technology that you currently use to create authentic learning experiences for your students? How have recent educational technologies been integrated into your assessments? I also asked, how has education technologies made a difference in the differentiation of your instruction, your content, and assessments for various learners? And then last but not least, how have you noticed students using available technology to support their learning process? Okay, I used a spreadsheet to go ahead and organize the responses that I got from my three interviewees. I'm going to have to zoom in, though, on the spreadsheet to get a look at some of those. What I'd like to highlight here are from the question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how effective do you believe your school is in the area of teaching digital literacy? What steps would you suggest that your school take to increase your school a few points on the scale? I want to point out the divergent answers that I got from these three interviewees. From my very professional internet source, he said he is from the Pear Tree Educational Incorporated. He said currently he would mark his school at an 8. There is always room for improvement, both in terms of student and teacher as far as students and teachers. He says game design, using game engines, not coding from scratch, is something that we truly want to implement, but our students still aren't at a point where they're ready for this. However, they will be very soon. So he thinks introducing this game technology will move his school up a few points. Well, he currently rates his school at an 8. So this is a school that clearly is integrating technology and is probably on the cutting edge of technology. Then we move to one of my wonderful teacher cohorts, Mr. Langen. Mr. Langen, his school seems to be on the opposite end. It seems like they're just beginning to integrate technology. So he says he currently rates his school at a 1. He says, but I think we're getting better. We just installed a computer lab last year for kids. The kids didn't have access to much technology. So that's great that they're starting to really begin to get to implement this technology for the kids. Then we have my school, Mr. Schlepper, a wonderful math teacher at my school, who finally responded to me via email. He said maybe about a 5. So he puts us right in the middle. And he says possibly beginning earlier. So beginning this teaching technology literacy at the earliest grades, probably, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, because that's the age the kids are getting on the computers and even starting to do research now. And so I guess we're about in the middle. We've got a little ways to go, and that's great. And then I also wanted to point out the question, how has education technologies made a difference in the differentiation of your instruction, content, and assessment? Again, our professional from this Pear Tree Educational Incorporated has this to say. He says, hey, check out FreshGrade. It has done wonders for our school. It allows us to document student, academic, socio-emotional, and physical even through PE progress. We can use various multimedia tools to document this progress and set short-term and long-term goals to build upon this progress. Wow. So again, cutting edge of technology. I did have a chance to look up FreshGrade, and it does look like a neat piece of technology. Looks a bit on the expensive side, but I'm going to have my administration take a look at it. Then we had Mr. Longan from my cohort again. He says, so far I would say that it has not made much difference. Visual arts is kind of already differentiated essentially. However, I hope that in the future, technology can assist me even further in this area. So that's great. And then my school, Mr. Schlepper, he said, the way technology has made a difference for his differentiation, he would say, largely as a means of sharing resources with students, allowing them to access what they need, when they need it, and at the speed they can make the best use of it. I thought that was a brilliant answer. So that is a little bit of a summary of some of the responses that I got from my interviewees. All right, now I had a chance to assess a math lesson from Mr. Schlepper, one of our brilliant math teachers here. And so I took a good look at this lesson that he sent me. Now, here's his description. He says the entire lesson was delivered using Google Slides and shared with the students for them to review through Google Classroom. I used that quiz, that's like a quiz technology, I've used it a few times myself, to allow students independent practice with skills needed in the lesson. They completed the reflection and self-assessment online through Classroom Google Forms. You notice here under learning activities, their learning activities were a head problem. That's kind of how he begins class. That quiz, starter, guided practice notes, independent practice, homework, reflection, and self-assessment, all in one class. I told you this is a brilliant teacher. And this was all done with effective technology. Their DLO is today, I will apply proportions to solve problems involving scale factors. That's what the students are going to leave knowing. And so my analysis was simply this. This is a very experienced math teacher who only uses the technology that he knows will aid the students in content engagement and not distract from standard mastery. This lesson, to me anyways, reflects an effective use of technology and shows how useful the right technology can be for a student-centered class environment. Okay, last but not least, my tech question checklist. I came up with these 5 questions that I would want to ask before I integrate any technology into the classroom. 1, I think it's important to ask, how will this tech empower students to control their own learning? 2, what does this tech does this tech prevent great analog thinking and learning? 3, have I started with purpose and pedagogy instead of starting with the technology first? 4, will parents think this tech threatens their child's security? Very important question. And 5, what will you do when the tech doesn't work, right? We've all had that experience, and so we all need a plan B. Well, there it is. There's my video log on my interviewing for tech integration into the 21st century classroom.